What's up friends, I'm Sanat Gupta and you are once again welcome on my channel Coding Lab. Today this is my first video and I'm going to introduce you to a JavaScript framework called p5.js. It's an open source framework and you can also use it, and it is mainly used by artists and students, and you can create pretty cool stuff with it like 3D moving animations and more like 2D games and anything you can imagine. So this is the introduction, and let's get started with today's video by creating a simple sprite using p5.play library. So as you can see, I have a blank canvas of code and all the library files in it. So you would ask, what's a sprite? Pick a knot. I will tell you that what's a sprite. A sprite is a main building block of the p5.play library, an element that is able to store all the images and animations with a set of properties such as position and visibility, which I'm going to explain later in upcoming videos. So let's create the basic functions, which is the function setup. Yeah, I'm writing in the caps lock. Very good. So function setup. So you're gonna ask me that in which notepads to write. Actually, in which editors to write. So you can use pretty much any. You can use Visual Studio, Notecode++, Notepad++, and you can have Atom. I do recommend Atom. And also you can use the official web editor of the P5. You can type P5 web editor and you can get it and run it. It's pretty easy. So if you don't have all the library files, I will link down on a GitHub page and you can download them, and same for all the editors, and you can download and set it up. And I'm also gonna link the p5 web editor also for your ease, and at the end of the code I will also link down it also, and you can like run it, and if you don't understand the video you can like just literally see it and write it and modify it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create another hardcore function, which is function raw. And by meaning hardcore, I mean that in this p5 you have to always create setup and draw. And setup you like basically define the canvas and basically the sprite, and in the draw you basically draw the sprite and define the background and other things. Draw is looped throughout the code. So for now what I'm gonna do is create a global variable. You're gonna ask me what is a global variable, and actually first I'm gonna tell you what is a variable. It is pretty simple. That variable is same as a sprite. It carries all the things and all the main functions in it, and you can like associate it with the create sprite function. You can associate with creates canvas. For now I will tell you now what's a global and a local variable. A global variable, we write global variable on the top and we write it as var, every variable as var, variable for short, and we space in between, and you can name it anything: canvas, runner, coder, anything you want. And after that I'm gonna like the local variable, I'm gonna tell you the difference about that local variable like uses in the specific lines, and the global is throughout the code. So in the setup I'm gonna define the canvas will like create canvas, which basically creates the canvas, and the x and y coordinates for 400. You can write anything you want like 4,000, 10,000, 10,000. Now you're gonna ask me what are the semicolons for. Semicolons are basically for telling that, like, yeah, I have written one line of code, then semicolon. It means that you cannot write about it more. By meaning that is that you are up, you cannot write forward from it. Like if I write, suppose I write create canvas again, it create canvas again. It is not going to work because I have already written. So I have to go to the next line and then write it again. And if the line ends, then put a semicolon and then in the next line again. So for now, I have made the canvas. Then I will use the background command and specify the background, which will be 0. It's a color code. You can use 255 in the you can use like in the double quotes you can write black, green, blue, yellow, anything you want. So I will just refresh and voila, you got an square, which is basically the 200 200, or sorry, 400 400. Now what we basically want and what is today's exercise is that to create a sprite. Yeah, create a sprite and move it with arrows, keys, up, down, right and left. I'm gonna just explain in a minute. But first, let's create that. So I'm gonna create a variable called mover. Simple mover. And in the setup, I'm gonna write mover again, like create sprite. It's gonna create a sprite. These are also called void functions. You have every function containing this brackets are called void functions, and some of them are library functions and some of them you can create on your own. I'm gonna just like basically explain them in future videos. Stay tuned for that. So now I'm gonna write the x and y coordinates like 200 200. If you consider this a grid, you would see to go up and down there would be minus and you could adjust it like that. After that, I'm going to write the volume or area the sprite takes like 330 and 30 and then semicolon. Now let's run it. You would see there is no sprite. Why? You would ask me. Yeah, because if we create a sprite, we have to draw it. It's the most essential and crucial part. We can write draw sprites. And if you run it, we have a sprite which is in the center of the curve. Hooray! We did it, but we didn't completed it. Now we are going to do a part which is not very tough and is easy to understand. Move it with arrow keys. We will be using a term in like a term called conditional programming. Conditional programming. What it means, I'm gonna tell you in just a second. What it means by is that if I'm giving a command to computer that if I move move the arrow key down, then only move it the up ways and then the down ways like that. It's called the conditional programming by using the if command, and this is also a library function. Now basically I'm going to do, there are many ways you can use key code, key down, and I will just discuss it in future videos, but for your ease I'm going to just use the key down function in which you can simply write up arrow underscore arrow, as simple as that. And then we're going to define the position. So mover dot position dot y, then same again is equals to, and then create not create, yeah, mover dot position dot y minus 10 because it's going up, then minus. Save this and it's gonna run. And if I press the up arrow, it's moving 10 units from its position, original position. Now what I'm gonna want is I will just copy them and I will just paste them here, as I want 4 of them to move in 4 different directions. Now I can write his down arrow and I'm gonna just do it in one go. Down arrow, right arrow, left arrow. This will be minus 10, this will be plus 10. Like, it's a pretty experimental thing. You can try it yourself and do it. And here we can write plus 10. And let's run it. Up, down, left. Yeah, so left is not changed because we haven't written X here. We will write X, as first we were dealing with the Y grid and then we are dealing with the X grid here. So we have to write accordingly. It's X, and if I now move it, yeah, it's moved 10 blocks every time, and if I stop it, it doesn't move. And instead of this, if I use velocity, something like that, it's gonna move and move and move, and it's going to go out of. And now also you can, if you can see that it goes out of the canvas because there is no collision barrier or something to stop it. In the future videos I'm going to talk about that also and be telling you how to create simple algorithms for stopping it. So we are done. This was the video, and if you liked it, please consider subscribing, and till then, goodbye.